He had become very good at watching others move forward, watching others succeed, watching others celebrate things he once dreamed about. His name was Arjun. Every night, after work, he sat on the same chair with his phone in his hand, scrolling, refreshing, comparing. One friend got a promotion, another started a business, someone else posted a picture from a place Arjun had always wanted to visit. He would smile for them, even type, "So happy for you, bro." But when the screen went dark, the room felt heavier. It wasn't jealousy. It was something quieter and more painful. Regret. Regret for the plans he never started, for the ideas he kept delaying, for the version of himself that only existed in his head. Arjun often told himself, "They're just luckier. They had support. They started earlier." And the most comforting lie of all, "I'll start soon too." Soon felt safe. Soon felt possible. Soon never asked for action. One evening, while watching a video of a friend receiving an award, Arjun suddenly closed the app. Not because he was angry, but because a strange thought hit him. I'm spending my life watching other people live the life I want. The room was silent. No notifications, no voices, just him and that thought. For the first time, he didn't open the app again. He sat there, staring at the wall, realizing something he had avoided for years. He wasn't behind because he was weak. He was behind because he was waiting. And waiting had become his habit. That night, Arjun didn't sleep easily. Every time he closed his eyes, the same scenes played in his mind. Faces of people he knew, smiles, celebrations, moments of achievement. Not because he was jealous, but because he remembered the time when he and those same people had stood at the same starting line. Same age, same energy, same dreams. Somewhere along the way, they had moved forward, and he had stayed. The next morning, Arjun went to work. As usual, same bus, same seat, same routine, but everything felt slightly heavier. He watched people around him, talking about plans, about growth, about next steps. He listened, nodded, smiled. Inside, a quiet voice kept repeating, "You've been observing life, not living it." During lunch, he sat alone and opened his notebook, something he hadn't done in years. On the first page, he wrote the word, "Start." Then he stared at it. For a long time, his mind immediately began to protect him. What if you fail? What if you're too late? What if you try and still stay average? These thoughts didn't shout, they whispered, and whispers are harder to fight. Arjun realized something painful. Watching others succeed had become his comfort zone. It was easier to be a spectator than to be a participant. Easier to admire than to risk. When you watch, you can't be judged. You can't fail. You can't look foolish. But you also can't win. That evening, instead of scrolling, Arjun sat at his desk. He didn't feel motivated. He didn't feel confident. He felt alone. Alone with his choices. Alone with his responsibility. Alone with the truth that no one was coming to start his life for him. His hands hovered over the keyboard. Not to post, not to like, not to watch, to begin. But beginning without applause, without certainty, without company. That felt terrifying. For the first time, Arjun understood what everyone who had moved ahead of him had faced. They didn't start because they felt ready. They started because they refused to keep watching. Arjun stared at the screen for a long time. The cursor blinked, patient and indifferent, as if it had all the time in the world. He didn't. His mind kept jumping between excitement and fear. One moment, he imagined how his life could change. The next, he imagined all the ways it could go wrong. He thought about the people he had been watching for years. How confident they looked. Now, how natural their success seemed. But then another thought quietly followed. They once sat exactly where I am sitting now. Alone, uncertain, doubting themselves. The difference was simple and painful to admit. They had acted while he had waited. Arjun opened an old folder on his computer. Inside were half-finished plans, notes, ideas he had written long ago. Business ideas, skills he wanted to learn, dreams he once believed in deeply. Reading them felt like meeting a younger version of himself. A version full of hope. A version that still believed time was endless. His chest tightened. He hadn't failed those dreams. He had just postponed them. Again and again. until postponing became normal. He realized something else too. When you watch others win for too long, you start to believe winning is something that happens to people, not something they build. You forget the late nights, the doubts, the silent work no one claps for. That illusion had kept him comfortable, safe, small. Arjun closed the folder and took a deep breath. He didn't suddenly feel brave. His fear didn't disappear, but a new feeling rose above the fear. Tiredness. Not physical tiredness. Tired of standing still. Tired of explaining to himself why soon never became now. Tired of watching life from the outside. He opened a new document and typed the first real sentence he had written for himself in years. Not a quote, not a plan, just a decision. I will begin even if I begin badly. The sentence looked simple, but it carried something heavy. Responsibility. There was no crowd, no one cheering, no one even aware of what he was doing. And yet, for the first time in a long while, Arjun felt closer to the people he had been watching. Not because he had succeeded, but because he had finally stepped onto the same path they once had. Alone. The first days felt strangely quiet. No notifications of success, no sudden changes, no one to tell him, "You're doing great, just work." Slow, uncomfortable, uncertain work. Arjun woke up earlier than usual, not because he felt inspired, but because he didn't want to waste another morning watching life pass him by. He sat at his desk while the world outside was still half asleep. The room felt empty, but his mind was loud. Every few minutes, doubt returned. What if this is pointless? What if I'm too late? What if I try for months and nothing changes? Before, these thoughts would have sent him back to his phone, back to scrolling, back to watching other people live the life he wanted. But now, he stayed. Not because he was fearless, because he was finally tired of running from himself. Some days, progress was so small it felt invisible. A few lines written, a skill practiced badly, an idea that didn't work. No one clapped, no one noticed. And yet, something inside him slowly began to shift. He was no longer a spectator. He was in the arena. He remembered how he used to feel when watching others succeed. That quiet pain mixed with admiration. Now, instead of comparing, he started understanding. Understanding the loneliness, understanding the confusion, understanding the patience it takes to keep going when nothing is certain. One evening, he opened social media again. The same faces, the same success stories, same celebrations. But this time, it felt different. He didn't feel smaller. He felt connected. Because now he knew something he hadn't known before. Every person he once envied had also begun in silence, had also doubted themselves, had also started when no one was watching. They weren't special. They were just willing to begin alone. Arjun closed the app and looked back at his work. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't impressive. But it was real. And for the first time, he felt proud. Not of an achievement, but of a choice. The choice to stop waiting. The choice to stop watching. The choice to stop living through others. He finally understood the truth he had avoided for years. You don't fall behind because others are faster. You fall behind because you stay in the crowd, clapping while they step forward. And the moment you step forward too, even if your hands are shaking and your path is unclear, you're no longer just a watcher. You are finally a participant in your own life.